Hey and welcome, I'm Hammeh. Happy holidays. I hope you are either opening your presents and you've got what you wanted, or maybe you are chewing or letting your Christmas dinner digest a little bit. But as you do so, there is a question that has been raised in the community from last night's Christmas Yule Log stream that the Overwatch team did. And if you don't know what that is, I'll tell you it in a minute. But the question is this: has a new ARG been started for a new Overwatch Hero, Hero 27's release? And if so, why would that be? So I'll quickly run through why people think this might be the case and a bit of the arguments for and against. Personally, I don't think it is, but who knows? So where has this come from? Well, if you were tuned in online last night, then you may have seen the Overwatch Yule Log stream that they did on the Play Overwatch Twitch channel. Now, a Yule Log program, it's an American tradition, but there are similar things in Europe called slow TV as well, is a 2 to 4 hour kind of show. In America, it's been a Yule Log burning in a fireplace on TV with a sort of Christmas soundtrack of music in the background. It's been since the 1960s in various places in the USA. You Americans and US folks, do let me know if that's wrong. So the Overwatch team, for fun it seems, decided to do their own version of GF sitting there for about 7 to 10 hours. Now, this show of GF being streamed, partially looping of course many times, he didn't actually sit there for 10 hours. It shows things like breaking it up of him eating cookies, taking a telemarketer call, being hit in the head with a sound boom, pretending that there's someone holding a sound boom over his head for like 10 hours, playing on his phone, opening a Genji I need healing present, and lots of little jokes and things similarly. So everyone was wondering if something would happen at the end, and Jeff had a little talk about the end, teasing a new hero reveal. Now, he did say two things before the bit that everyone's interested in.
Now, we've been reading the forums, and we know you've been speculating about not only who this hero is based on the lore that we've been putting out there, but also in terms of what roles that you guys really ask for. You know, there's a lot of demands for more tanks, more supports, more flex heroes. We understand you're looking for all of these.
We'll come back to that later. Anyway, here's what happened when he was about to reveal the name straight off the stream.
Me and the Overwatch team are very excited and very proud to announce that the next Overwatch hero is going to be... Heard it here first. I think you're going to be as excited as we are. It's going to be super fun, and we all know it. Thanks for sticking it out, and we really appreciate you being here with us.
So, glitchy visuals, strange sounding sounds, you know what that's going to mean. Speculation cannons everywhere are absolutely firing, tinfoil hats are being got out, and everyone is preparing to get on the bandwagon once more. Well, is this going to actually be a new hero ARG? I'll quickly cover some of what I think and maybe the arguments for and arguments against, as well as my own opinion. People are already analysing the sound and stills of these glitches, myself included, very much like the Sombra ARG of last year. I will return to it, of course, after Christmas Day and a couple of days off. Now, I'm no expert, but having had a look at the various stills of bits of this frame, a lot of it just seems to be colour distortion, unlike the Sombra ARG. You may remember in that case, a technique called data moshing was used, concealing characters in the actual source code of the image to create a message that could be found. And of course, if you change the characters of the source code of an image, then it changes the image slightly in terms of how it visually looks. Here's an image from the Sombra ARG last year of Dorado compared to the actual image that was on the Overwatch website. You can clearly see the difference, which was the founding point for people to try and decode it. Perhaps there's something in the sound. You can easily slow it down and reverse it in various tools. I've not heard anything there so far, but let's see what happens if or when the more expert coding and investigating community take a look, such as the game detectives community, if at all. Now, the reason that I say if at all they take a look is I'd be a little bit cautious about this personally being an ARG for now, and I think there's a few good reasons why. Firstly, many interviews that Blizzard did after the Sombra ARG. Now, although Blizzard did not rule out future ARGs, they've definitely learnt from the Sombra one in terms of pacing. One of the things that people felt is that the Sombra one went on for a long period of time with not enough quote-unquote content. People solve stuff as a hive mind, as a group of people working together very quickly, leaving big gaps between the next steps. And then the ultimate payoff that people felt, obviously the announce of Sombra, people kind of knew that she was coming quite a way in advance. So I think Blizzard learned lessons from this, and indeed they said themselves in interviews about building too much anticipation, perhaps too early or too quickly, without without feeling the payoff in a timely manner. There's nothing wrong with hyping people up, providing you deliver on it in a reasonable period of time, or there's enough stuff to keep people going. So with that in mind, and Blizzard's kind of 4-month or so gap release cycle for new heroes, we had Orisa in March, of course, 2017. We then had Doomfist in July. We then had Moira, of course, coming in November. So if we're working on that and the basis for maybe a new hero kind of like March, maybe next year, then it feels a little bit early to start hyping people up with an ARG. And the second thing I'm going to talk about is the practicalities of marketing things. If you're a video game publisher, whatever you make as a company or sell, you always kind of have this communications calendar or a roadmap. If you want people to keep thinking about you or your product or your game or whatever it is you are, your widget, you always want to have something to talk about, and you don't tend to want to stack too many big things up, big announcements or things against each other, unless it's a big yearly event like BlizzCon or similar, where everyone expects you to have something big to talk about. So if you make 10 big announcements in a month about a game, what are you talking about for the rest of the year? So with that in mind, let's have a look at Overwatch quickly as to what we know is going on over the next 3 or so months, and then have a look back and think if an ARG being started right now is really that likely. Well, January 2018, if we're looking too far ahead, I know it's Christmas Day, but Blizzard World, the new Blizzard skins as well, we've got a new map coming, and then of course the new Blizzard skins that are going into normal loot boxes, of course, meaning that we can earn and buy these with credit all year round. Happy days, I'm really looking forward to those. They look so sweet. I love other Blizzard games. But if Oasis, like last year, was anything to go by, we got Oasis announced at BlizzCon 2016. That was live of January 2017 or so that was right at the beginning of the year. We could have Blizzard World in very early January, and as for these new Blizzard skins, well, I'm not quite sure whether they go live in January, but it said that they were going to be roughly around that time. Now, remember, of course, that in January, of course, we have the kicking off of the Overwatch League from the 11th onwards, and all of the skins that that's going to bring for the various teams. Remember that Blizzard, of course, have announced a token system, meaning that you can buy tokens that you can then use to go and buy the specific skins for the specific teams and specific heroes you actually want. And remember, of course, that when that happens, we're all going to get enough tokens for one skin for a hero that we want. For a particular team, so a free skin for you coming up, of course. Now, the Overwatch League is a big thing for Blizzard and the future of Overwatch. Whether you're into esports or competitive gaming or not, even if you just play Overwatch for fun, even if you just enjoy the characters, do try watch the Overwatch League from the 11th of January. The production and the sort of overall presentation and the games in the pre-season were really good. You can actually see VODs of those on overwatchleague.com, but my point is this is a big thing for Blizzard, and they would not particularly want this to be overshadowed by anything else. So I'm wondering if maybe an ARG going over the top of Overwatch League in January is quite unlikely. Let's not forget as well, of course, the Year of the Dog, the Lunar New Year events. It was Year of the Rooster last year, it's going to be Year of the Dog this year. There's going to be probably Capture the Flag, new skins, maybe a new Brawl, and last year, the Year of the Rooster released late January to mid-February, of course. So that's another big thing happening in January to February for Blizzard and for Overwatch already. Stepping back to think a bit about early this year, and I will do my year in review of Overwatch and what I thought of everything and where Overwatch might be going video in the coming days, so keep an eye out for that before New Year. We did, of course, have in late February 2017 an Orisa teaser, the Ify Oladeli blogs, everything talking about Numbani. Now, Orisa was teased for 3 weeks, hit the PTR, and then live a month or so later in mid to late March. So stepping back and looking at that as well as what we've learned from earlier this year, I think that an ARG starting now, on top of the huge January and February that Blizzard have already got planned for Overwatch, will draw attention away from the Overwatch League and perhaps other things that they're doing. Unless the League broadcasts were somehow used in tandem with it, imagine an ARG teaser during an Overwatch League broadcast. That would really get people tuning into esports, wouldn't it, as well? 3 months is a very long lead time. It kind of means that you either need a huge ARG if you were running one with so many puzzles in, which is of course a lot of resource and quite time intensive to run, or you need a very short one maybe if you did want to do one that had quite a quick series of things to solve, and then the payoff could be quite soon afterwards, bearing in mind that Moira kind of came out of nowhere a little bit. But as Blizzard have said, they thought that we missed clues on Moira in terms of her being in the comic. I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the video. With all that in mind, I think it's not likely that this is the start of an ARG right now. I mean, I'm no expert in decoding, I could be wrong, but just if you look at what's coming up for Overwatch, it seems as if there's quite a lot coming up in the next couple of months already, and then that could suit perhaps a hero tease in late February to early March, and a quick run out and announcement of a hero then. I think that Jeff's comments in the Yule Log vid, when he talks about them being sensitive sensitive to the fact that the community are trying to speculate based off the lore. When he gave an interview that I'm going to talk about shortly as well, he reinforces that point too, and he also specifically mentions tank support and the idea of a flex hero. So I think that a flex hero is something that could be really, really interesting. A dual tank and support hero is something that people have mentioned could be really, really cool. I want a tank, I want to support, I can't do both is a phrase I use quite a lot in Overwatch games. If they try and made some kind of in-between role hero like the defense heroes or something, but could do both, that could be quite interesting to me. So I think we should probably pay more attention to Jeff's comments rather than perhaps the actual fuzz and smoke and mirrors, if it turns out to be that, of the kind of glitchiness in the video. Going back to the grounding of heroes in lore. As many people have discussed and speculated already, obviously I speculated a lot with top 5 future heroes in the past, which was one of the first videos that kicked off my Overwatch channel. So if you'd like to see me do my take on who Hero 27 could be based off what we know, do let me know in the comments. I may give it a go in the next few days. Now, there's been a lot of coverage already of Jeff giving an interview to PC Games N at the Fun and Serious Games Festival just a month or so ago, saying that our next hero may have already been hinted at. Jeff said that given how attentive the community were in picking up and scouring things for clues, he was kind of surprised that Moira had been hinted at in the Talon Masquerade comic, and people hadn't been more hyped up or wondering about who it could be leading up to BlizzCon. So he did describe the hero, or the next new hero, as a surprise that's perhaps been hinted at. So if we combine the comments in that interview with Jeff's end of Yule Log stream kind of comments as well, I think that they are teeing us up for a new hero in that kind of area and letting us know that it's something that we may have thought might have been coming anyway. I'm quite excited for that. I don't think that this is the start of an ARG personally. What do you think? Do you think that given all of the things we've talked about here, we're getting a new ARG? Do you think that people are maybe just chasing rainbows or aliens a little bit in terms of it not being likely? Who would you like to see as a new hero in Overwatch if they've already been in the lore or supporting story? I'd love to know in the comments. Have a great Christmas and holidays. Do let me know if you got what you wanted. More Overwatch lore news and a bit of speculation and analysis, because you guys seem to like that on other things, as I mentioned, coming up soon. Cheers for tuning in. I've been Hammeh. Take it easy.